Last month, I celebrated my 20-year anniversary in stand-up comedy. Now, it has not been all peaches and cream. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. The world of stand-up comedy and the world of acting is what I call a business of rejection. And you really have to have thick skin to just persevere. And I don't think I could have done it without a friend of mine. Let me go back, 2003. The company I'm working for sends me to a management training course at the Dale Carnegie Institute. It was then that I bumped into this friend. I remember sitting there and the instructor goes up and he says, one at a time, you're all gonna come up and you're going to tell us who you are, why you're here, the company you work for, somebody you admire, and why you admire them. And I remember counting the seats until it was my turn. And each time we got closer, I felt my heart pounding harder and harder. And then when it was my turn to go up, I remember there was a feeling of pulling at my pant leg. And when I looked down, it was my knees bouncing up and down. And Jerry Seinfeld once said that most people fear public speaking more than death. So if you are at a wake, most likely you would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy. Yes. Anyway, I realized that this problem, this friend of mine, fear, that I had been avoiding since high school, had showed his ugly face again, and I had had enough. So I made it my life to, as they say, run towards what frightens you. Run towards what frightens you. Unless it's an angry spouse, don't do that. But other than that, run towards what frightens. So I began to take comedy classes, I joined Toastmasters, and I started to face my fears, going to open mics, and it was not easy. There were many times I wanted to quit, but I just kept going. At the Dale Carnegie Training Institute, I started to add humor to my presentations. And that's when I had that aha moment where, oh my God, I'm not gonna die. This is gonna be okay, I can do this. And that's actually, it was in some of those classes that my very first jokes were written. The one speech we had to give about our parents, and mine was about my dad. And I remember my speech saying about my dad worked so hard as a subway cop in New York City that when he retired, to make him feel more comfortable around the house, we would pee in the hallway. And also I began to embrace myself, things that I was self-conscious of, like my height. I was always self-conscious of my height. Just once, I like to go see a Broadway play or a musical, and when I sit down, I don't have to hear from behind me, Anyway, this transformation began where I started to look at public speaking as this, instead of a fear of death, it started to become like this excitement that I can only compare to being on a roller coaster, where when you're on the roller coaster and it's going up, click, 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 you say to yourself, my God, what the hell did I do? What did I get myself into? And then it takes off and it's the time of your life. And what do you say? At least what I say when I get off a roller coaster, I want to get back on. And that's what I did. I kept getting back on and I kept getting back on, and it got easier and it got easier. And then one day a friend of mine said, why don't you take this acting class with me? And I said, acting class? No, getting in people's faces and acting and talking and feeling things, that scares me. And I was like, wait a second, I'm gonna run towards this, I'm gonna do this. And I trained with one of the best acting teachers in New York City, which led me to my first ever part on my mother's favorite soap opera, One Life to Live, as Rodney, the lovable mental patient. After that, I found myself standing on, I got cast in my first film. It was an independent film. I remember standing on my mark, and I had just recently bought a detective coat, like this long black trench coat, to wear. 'Cause I was playing a detective. I wore this long black trench coat, and it was like $175. I remember saying, I'm going to return this when this is over, because there's no way when am I going to use this again? Anyway, I'm standing on my mark, and the director, Barry Levinson, says, Al, we're ready for you. And next thing I know, Al Pacino is standing in front of me, and I'm doing a scene with Al Pacino, and he was so cool, he was so lovable, and I felt so relaxed around him that I actually made a joke, because he's 5'2" and I'm 6'6". I said, I would love to hang out with you, and maybe, I could say to people, hey, say hello to my little friend. And he didn't think that was funny at all. But it was an amazing experience, and at the end, I'll never forget, they said cut, they wrapped, and everybody started going their own ways, and I felt a pat on my chest, and I looked over and I didn't see anybody, but then I looked down and it was Al, and I remember he said, you gave me a lot of good stuff to work with, thank you very much. And I think what I wanted to say was two things: thank you very much, and also it was such an honor to work with you, Mr. Pacino. But I think I said them together, and it came out, thank you so much, okay, blah, blah, blah. And he said, okay, and he walked away. And it was, I believe, the year 2016. I get a call from my manager, and she says, you're about to get a very important phone call. Don't go anywhere. And at the time, we were getting our carpets cleaned professionally, and there was this giant truck out front with this machine, and I was freaking out. I'm like, I got to get out of here. This is a life-changing moment. I got to get out of here. And I remember I was trying to leave, and in the doorway was this large man with a vacuum hose. And I said, sir, I got to get by. He goes, no, watch this. And he takes this sprinkled powder, and he sprinkles it on this stain. He goes, watch what happens here. I'm like, sir, I really have to get by you, please. He goes, no, I want to show you. And he was very surprised to see me start to climb over him. And I remember my wife running up saying, listen, talk to me. Just tell me, I'll take care of it. So I get in my car, and I start driving, and that's when I got a call from a 310 area code, knowing that that's California. I pick up the phone, and the voice on the phone says, hi, hey, Chris, this is Kevin James, and I saw you at a local comedy club. I think you're really funny. How would you like to play a part on my next TV show? It's called Kevin Can Wait. It's going to air on CBS. I couldn't even speak. I remember calling my wife, and when I went to tell her what happened, I couldn't speak. I was crying. And from there, I remember that we were at the pilot filmed here on Long Island, and the first scene, I'm sitting in my seat, getting ready. Kevin's getting his makeup done, and I'm sitting there doing the positive talk. I belong here. I worked hard for this. I belong here. And standing next to camera B, there's somebody staring next to me. And it's kind of making me a little nervous because he's really staring at me. And then as I began to focus, I said, oh my God, that's Adam Sandler. I need him staring at me right now. And then we were about to start filming, and that little voice in the head came out and goes, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. You don't deserve this. And I said, shut up. Yes, I do. I worked very hard for this, and I'm going to do it. I read somewhere that the best way to approach a scenario is to say to yourself, how would I do this particular scenario if fear and anxiety and nervousness did not exist? And then you say to yourself, and you go over step by step how you would do that. And then, okay, after you do that, you say to yourself, all right, go do that. And that I found helped me out a lot. So I remember filming the scene, and at the end of the scene, cut, it was a wrap, walking away, and Kevin James turned around and he fist bumped me and he said, you effing nailed that. And I was like, oh my God. And yeah, it was just an incredible, surreal moment. And since then, he's asked me to open up for him on the road. Next month, I'm going on tour with him for 2 weeks. And later this winter, I'm actually going to be filming my first comedy album. And thank you. So every once in a while, I got to stop. Because you get easily frustrated in this business of rejection. And I got to say to myself, look how far you've come. Look how far you've come for this guy that couldn't even speak in front of 10 people. Look what you've done. And to that, I say to fear, my friend, I truly couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.